and I want people to feel what I'm feeling, and I want them to feel it in all of its complexities. And so that's why it is messy. That's why it doesn't always look good. That's why sometimes it is ugly.
Aqui é Luiz Otávio, direto de Austin, Texas, para o Zona Curva, para o pessoal do Trenderias, com apoio da Música. Estou aqui com uma ótima banda do Canadá, banda Truck Violence. Hello guys, hello Truck Violence.
Hello, hello.
Hey,
Thanks for joining me at South by Southwest. How's the festival treating you so far?
Going great. It's going great. We got free food. We got free lip balm. We got a bunch of free little things. It's going great so far.
We're drinking buzz balls every day.
Yeah.
I want to ask each one of you, how do you start in music, but not only playing? When you're a child, what happens when you say, oh, I love music, I want to be on that shit, you know?
I didn't listen to music until I was like 16 years old.
16?
But I grew up with my dad jamming every Wednesday night. So I think I always kind of admired the idea of playing music. I was stuck playing video games all day until I was 16, and then I picked up a guitar and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And I started learning like Red Hot Chili Peppers and shit. And then, I don't know, fast forward to now I'm playing bands. So I guess that's how I started. I guess my dad would be the starting point.
I was like 13, probably around 13. And my brother played guitar, and he really wanted me to play guitar, so he taught me how to play guitar. And then within a month, I was better at guitar than him. So, and then I just played guitar a little bit from there, and then I got way more into it when I was like 16, and I actually started to like music. Bands like Half Moon Run and a lot of classic rock, like all the like ZZ Top, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, all that stuff.
AC/DC?
Yeah, even AC/DC, yeah.
My dad played guitar for me all the time when I was a kid. And then I would say I got into like Canadian bands like Great Big Sea. And then I got into like pop rock. I was big into Third Eye Blind. And then I got into metal and stuff. And I played piano when I was a kid. I played violin, cello, double bass, and guitar until I finally started playing drums. And I was like, I didn't practice any of the other things, and I never got good at any of them except drums because it was so fun and easy to practice.
I have a question that's only for drummers.
Sure.
How many bands do you play?
That's a good question. I'm one of the rare ones who only plays in one. And I've always wanted to be that way because I think that you can handcraft your sound a lot better when you're in one or two bands than if you're in 7 bands. You're gonna sound like a session player, I think. So you're gonna just kind of do it by the numbers, and I don't want to do that. I've never wanted to do that.
I think music, and the reason why I made music was a sort of subconscious response to the impediments of the countryside. I think nobody in my family got to do any of the things that they had wanted to do, whether that was via early pregnancy or economic disposition. Making music was sort of the stupidest thing that I could have done because it is the least economical. But because that option was available to me, you know, I wanted to do it sort of as not as a fuck you, but almost as like, okay, thank you for all of the work, and now I am finally able to, as this new generation, to do something that is a little bit more risky. And I think making heavy music was, you know, the cherry on top because it's even less economical, it's even less popular. It is the ultimate crapshoot. So it was an exciting thing for me, and also a little spiteful. You know, nobody out there wants you to do anything besides trades, and it was nice to take a harder path, I think, because I could, you know.
Your sound uniquely blends Western Canadian hardcore with folk music. I listen a lot of DOA, those kind of stuff. How did this fusion develop, and which artists or experiences have influenced the musical direction of the band?
Growing up in the countryside, is sort of you feel as though you and your culture are the butt of all jokes. There's an antagonism between urban and rural living. I think that, especially when I was younger, living in the countryside of Canada, it was looked at as, you know, it's hillbilly and it's stupid and it's, you know, all of those hillbilly things. And I wanted to find a way that I could critically love where I'm from and critically love how I grew up, because I think that the countryside is quite thoughtful. And, there are bad elements, but I wanted to sort of excise those bad elements and still embody all the things that I cared about. And yeah, just that general antagonism is the reason why I wanted to do something sort of rural coded.
You guys moved from Alberta to Montreal.
Two of us.
Okay, and the rest of us, you already live in Montreal, no?
Chris does, but I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia, so the east coast of Canada.
These transitions of cities impact probably the way you compose and face music. What's different from the beginning to now?
For me personally, when I moved to the city, I grew up like when I was a teenager, always listening to metal, always that stuff. And then when I moved to the city, it almost didn't really make sense because it was such a different atmosphere to be around and surrounded by that I was like, oh, I didn't really want to be listening to super intense metal. And then after a while, I started to finally miss my hometown. And I was like, oh shit, I do kind of love all of those things that you take for granted. You take so many things for granted growing up in the countryside. And I wanted to bring that back. So I think that's like a big part that influenced like a lot of the folkier stuff and a lot of going back into the metal music of writing and stuff.
I think that keeping in the theme of loving something critically, it was really important to me to show aspects of our culture back home coming to the city that I think are quite beautiful, and excise the things that I thought were not so beautiful. And when I say not so beautiful, I mean in a sort of moral negative way. I think that the countryside tends to have an air of conservatism that I find quite not only bland and a little bit off color, but also detrimental to living out there. I found that there was always a culture that was self-eating in a way within the countryside. It feels like people out there really just want to eat themselves in the worst way possible. I don't want to see that happen. I want to be able to move back when I'm older and move to something that is just as untouched and as beautiful as it was when I was younger. And so I think coming here to the city made me realize that I want to keep things and to help preserve things in that way. And so, yeah, I guess that's sort of the image and the aesthetic.
How do you describe the live performances? How is different your band live?
Our live performance is uniquely intense in a way that it is awkward and that it is invasive. My goal is always to break the partition between the crowd and the performer, because I don't think that there should be a partition. I don't think that I should be the larger than life experience. I think the entirety of the performance, including the crowd, should be the thing that is larger than life. I want to reach out and I want people to feel what I'm feeling, and I want them to feel it in all of its complexities. And so that's why it is messy. That's why it doesn't always look good. That's why sometimes it is ugly, because I think that it's more important than ever to be ugly at a time when everything is essentialized and easily chewable and TikTokable. That isn't what real life is. That's not how we're feeling. Like, nothing is an essentialized aesthetic. That's just not how the real world works. And so this is, in a lot of ways, a response to that trend. And yeah, I think that it's important to feel earnestly. And I think that's what our live performance is.
Let's catch the last phrase and talk about something that's really happening right here all over the world, but here in South by, everybody's talking about artificial intelligence all the time. How is for you as musicians, as artists, how to handle that new tool? Do you think you can use to make some new music? Or do you think it will harm the essence of it?
I mean, I think there's a lot of ways you can use AI. Like, because I mix a lot of the albums and stuff, and a lot of VSTs that you'll use to mix will use AI, like for noise suppression or to get stuff like that. And that's super useful. But if you're using like AI to write your songs, then I don't think you'll ever get something good.
I read a quote the other day, and it was like, we wanted AI to wash our dishes so that we had more time to make art, not to make all of our art so that we have more time to wash our dishes. So I think that the menial tasks being taken over by AI, such as like isolating certain instruments in a mix, that's perfectly fine. But AI creating art is just dystopian. I think the solution to that is to just make weird art that AI would never think to make. It's going to be really good at writing pop music.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the AI problem is a part of a broader problem. AI writing and making art is sort of a regurgitation of things that already exist. I mean, it's just a compiling of things that already inhabit. And the problem with that is that we're not striking at anything new. We're not striking at anything truthful or anything honest. We're just regurgitating what is already popular, which we've been doing for so long, but now we're able to just churn it out like nothing. Like there's just an ungodly amount of slop coming out with the advent of AI and with the advent of social medias that are short form, like 6-second long videos. You can just churn out slop, whether it's AI or whether you're doing it purposefully, and nothing good is coming from it. It is definitely denigrating the art. But yeah, as Paul was saying, like if you're gonna use it for something that is menial or just something quick, you know, like I use ChatGPT when I have a question. You know, these things are whatever. But for the more grand, the things that are uniquely human, yeah, why the fuck would you use AI?
What are you guys planning for the future, and what the goals of the band?
We're planning to make new music, and I want to use this band and our art as a response to, like I was saying, the total slop that is occurring within. Originally it was just on the internet, but now the internet has sort of invaded every facet of our being as artists, and I think that there's just so much boring shit coming out that is untruthful and inauthentic, and it is, God, I hate saying this because it sounds so corny, but they are just literally creating like assembly line products. It's so boring, and it's such a denigration of everything that I care about. And it's also just like, why? What's the point? Like, if you want to go and work on an assembly line, go work on an assembly line. But don't invade these spaces and post your shit on, you know, wherever, because it racks views. It's so boring, and I have no respect for those people whatsoever. And so I want to push that by pushing something that I think is unique and is authentic and is bad sometimes. There are plenty of times where my performance will be bad. It is not technically perfect, and it is not chewable easily. It's not a soundbite, you know. And I like that, and I'm proud of that. So yeah.
Thank you so much. If you have a final message, please.
Yeah, sure. Mark Carney for Prime Minister of Canada. Keep Trumpism out of Canada. Pierre Poilievre is a career politician who's done nothing for the Canadian people and will continue to do nothing for the Canadian people if he is elected. It's just more conservative slop. And I don't know. I don't want to live in a country where that's occurring. And I want all of my friends and myself, and we are going to be pushing for Mark Carney. So thanks for having this interview with us, and hope to see you in Brazil.
Please resist, and we will resist back in Brazil.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
Together.
Right on.
Let's go. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
So